Breaking news for every single driver watching this video right now. If you own a vehicle, if you lease a car, or even if you just rent one on the weekends to get groceries, you need to stop what you are doing and listen. If you are planning to get behind the wheel in January 2026, you need to know about 7 major driving law changes that are rolling out across the United States. And when I say major, I am not talking about a 50-cent increase in toll fees. I am not exaggerating when I say these changes could cost you thousands of dollars, maybe even tens of thousands, if you are not prepared. I'm Gabriel, and today we are talking about 7 driving law changes coming in January 2026 that every American driver needs to know about. Rule number 1: the expansion of hands free laws and the explosion of penalties. Hands free cell phone laws are expanding dramatically in January 2026, and the penalties are getting significantly steeper across the board. Now you might be thinking, Gabriel, wait a minute. Isn't that already a law? Haven't we been dealing with hands free requirements for years? In some states, yes, absolutely. If you live in California or New York, you know the drill. But here is what is changing, and this is the critical part you need to understand. As of January 2026, over a dozen additional states are either introducing brand new distracted driving laws or significantly strengthening their existing ones to remove loopholes. And more importantly, the penalties are getting much, much steeper than what you are used to. Here is the reality of the situation. In many states that already had hands free laws on the books, the fines were relatively low and not particularly intimidating. Maybe it was a $50 ticket, maybe $100 for a first offense. It was annoying, sure, but it wasn't devastating. It was the cost of doing business for some drivers. But starting in January 2026, we are seeing a coordinated nationwide push to increase penalties across the board in a major way. First-time offenses in states like Georgia, Ohio, and Pennsylvania are now jumping to between $200 and $500. That is not pocket change anymore. That is a car payment. That is a week's worth of groceries for a family. For second offenses, you are looking at $500 to $1,000 in fines, plus points on your license that will follow you for years. But it gets even more serious than that. The legal system is moving from financial punishment to behavioral correction. In states like California, New York, and Washington, repeat offenders could face mandatory driver education courses that you have to pay for out of pocket. You might face community service requirements, and in some cases, you are looking at license suspension. Imagine losing your ability to drive for 30, 60, or even 90 days because you got caught checking your phone at a red light twice. For most people, that is a catastrophe. No driving means no getting to work. It means no taking kids to school. It means no running errands. Your entire life gets disrupted. And here is the kicker, the part that really stings long after you have paid the fine. Insurance companies are paying very close attention to these violations now. In the past, a distracted driving ticket might not have hit your insurance too hard. Now, if you get cited for distracted driving, your insurance premiums could increase by 15% to 30% or even more depending on your provider, your driving history, and how they categorize the violation. Let's do the math. If you pay $2,000 a year for car insurance, a 30% hike is an extra $600 a year, but those points don't vanish in a year. They stick around for 3 to 5 years. That one text message could cost you $3,000 in extra insurance premiums over the next few years. Now, let me be crystal clear about what counts as a violation under these new expanded laws, because this is where a lot of drivers are going to be surprised. Holding your phone in your hand while driving is the violation. Read that again. It doesn't say texting. It doesn't say calling. It says holding. Even if you are just holding it and not actively using it, it is now illegal in most of these states. Even at a stoplight, even if your car is in park. If you are in the driver's seat on a public road with the engine on and you are holding your phone, that is a violation. Texting while driving, obviously illegal. Scrolling through social media while waiting in traffic, illegal. Checking your GPS manually while driving, illegal. Holding your phone to your ear to take a call, even for just a few seconds, also illegal. The only exception in most places is if you are using a hands-free device like a Bluetooth headset, a mounted phone with voice commands enabled, or your car's built-in system. And even then, the rules are strict. The phone has to be mounted securely, not in your hand, not on your lap, not wedged between your shoulder and your ear. Let me give you a real-world example so this really sinks in. Imagine you are sitting at a red light during your morning commute. Traffic is heavy. You aren't moving. Your phone buzzes in the cup holder. You see it's a text from your boss or your spouse. You pick it up for literally 3 seconds to quickly check what it says. You don't respond. You don't type anything. You just glance at the screen. A police officer in the lane next to you or behind you sees you. That is a ticket. It doesn't matter that your car wasn't moving forward. It doesn't matter that you were just glancing for a second. It doesn't matter that you didn't type anything or respond. In the eyes of the law, you were distracted. You were holding your phone and you are getting fined. No warnings, no exceptions, no sympathy. So what do you do? How do you protect yourself? It is actually pretty simple, but you have to commit to it. Invest in a mount. Buy a good quality phone mount for your dashboard or windshield. They cost $15. A ticket costs $500. Do the math. Mount your phone before you start driving and leave it there. Voice commands. Use Hey Siri or Hey Google. Modern tech is amazing. You can navigate, call, and text without ever touching the screen. The pull over rule. If you absolutely must check something, pull into a parking lot. Put the car in park. It might add 3 minutes to your trip, but it is better than the alternative. Rule number 2, automated enforcement is exploding, the camera revolution. Rule number 2 is really ramping up fast. Automated enforcement is exploding. Speed cameras and red light cameras are being installed in hundreds, maybe even thousands of new locations across the country, and the fines are going up, while the tolerance for violations is going down. Now, I know what some of you are thinking because I hear it all the time in the comments. Gabriel, those cameras are just money grabs. They don't actually improve safety. They are just there to generate revenue for cities. And look, there is definitely a valid debate about whether they improve safety or just fill government coffers. Studies go both ways. But regardless of how you feel about them, regardless of whether you think they are fair or effective, the reality is they are here. They are expanding rapidly, and they will catch you if you are not paying attention. Starting in January 2026, cities and states like Illinois, Maryland, Arizona, Florida, and Texas are rolling out dozens, in some cases hundreds of new speed cameras and red light cameras. Washington, D.C. is adding even more to their system. Chicago is expanding theirs. New York City operates 24/7 now in many zones. But here is what has changed in a big way: the tolerance level. In many places, speed cameras used to only trigger if you were going 11 or more miles per hour over the posted limit. That gave you a little wiggle room, a buffer zone. Now that threshold is dropping to 6 or even 5 miles per hour over the limit in some jurisdictions. That means if you are driving in a 35 mph zone and you are going 41 mph, maybe because you are going with the flow of traffic, or you weren't paying attention to the speedometer for a few seconds, you are getting a ticket in the mail 2 weeks later, and by the time you get it, you have probably forgotten you were even in that area. Red light cameras are getting stricter too. This is where a lot of people are going to get caught. Previously, many camera systems had a built-in grace period of about half a second after the light turned red. That was designed to account for reaction time. That grace period is shrinking or being eliminated entirely in some places. If any part of your vehicle, even just the front bumper, crosses the stop line after the light turns red, even by a fraction of a second, you could be automatically photographed and fined. These systems don't care about context. They don't care if you were trying to avoid being rear ended by the car behind you. They don't care if the sun was in your eyes. The system is automated. It sees a violation, it sends a ticket. The financial impact: red light camera tickets can range from $75 on the low end all the way up to $500 or more depending on the state. Speed camera tickets typically start around $50 but can escalate to $300 based on speed. Here is the tricky part that ruins people's finances: civil versus criminal. In most states, these are civil violations. They don't usually add points to your license. But, and this is a big but, if you ignore the ticket thinking it's not a big deal, you will face escalating late fees that double or triple the fine. You will face collections agencies, and in some states, you will face a suspended vehicle registration. That means the next time you get pulled over, your car gets towed because you didn't pay a $75 camera ticket 3 months ago. The solution? Drive the limit. It sounds boring, but with cameras everywhere, it's the only way to be safe. Stop on yellow. If the light turns yellow, do not gun it. Stop. Use tech. Apps like Waze or Google Maps alert you to camera locations. Use them. It keeps you aware. Rule number 3: the 0.05% BAC limit, a game changer. Rule number 3 is about impaired driving, and this one is extremely serious. Several states are lowering their legal blood alcohol concentration limits and dramatically increasing penalties for DUI offenses starting in January 2026. This is not a minor policy shift. This is a massive cultural change. Right now, the legal limit in most states is 0.08% BAC. That has been the standard for decades, but Utah made headlines a few years ago when they became the first state to drop their limit to 0.05% BAC. Now, other states are following their lead. States like Washington, Oregon, Colorado, and Hawaii are either implementing or seriously considering 0.05% limits. That might not sound like a big difference, right? Going from 0.08 to 0.05 doesn't seem like much. It is a massive difference. For most people, a 0.05% BAC is roughly 1 to 2 drinks, depending on your body weight, metabolism, and food intake. At 0.08%, you're usually talking about 3 drinks. The margin of error just vanished. What used to be, I had 2 beers over dinner, I'm probably fine to drive, is now, I had 2 beers over dinner, and I am going to jail if I get pulled over. And the penalties, they are getting harsher. First offense, fine starting at $1,000 to $2,500. Mandatory alcohol education. Immediate license suspension for 90 days. Repeat offenses, felony charges, fines in the tens of thousands, jail time, mandatory ignition interlock devices, the breathalyzer you have to blow into to start your car. The true cost of a DUI. Let's break down the finances because this is what destroys lives. Court fines: $2,000 attorney fees, $5,000, $10,000 insurance. Hike: $3,000 per year for 3,005 years. Interlock device with $1,500 over a year. Lost wages? When you add it all up, a single DUI conviction can easily cost you $15,000 to $25,000. That is a down payment on a house. That is your child's college fund. Gone because you had 2 glasses of wine. The advice: if you have had anything to drink, do not drive. Period. An Uber costs $30. A DUI costs $20,000. It is the easiest financial decision you will ever make. Do not risk it. Rule 4. Electric vehicles and emission standards. Rule number 4 is about electric vehicles and emissions, and this one hits your wallet every single year. Starting in January 2026, several states are implementing new or increased registration fees for electric vehicles, EVs, and some are significantly tightening emission standards for gas vehicles. The EV tax. If you drive an EV, you don't pay gas tax. Gas tax pays for roads. States are realizing they are losing money, So, states like Texas, Ohio, Virginia, and Georgia are implementing specific annual registration fees for EVs ranging from $100 to $200 or more. This is strictly to make up for the lost gas tax revenue. It means your annual registration bill is going to double or triple compared to a gas car. You need to budget for this. It is no longer free to drive an EV in terms of road taxes. The gas car crackdown for gas powered vehicles, especially older ones, states are tightening emissions testing requirements. States like California, Colorado, New York, and Massachusetts are adopting stricter standards. Here is the nightmare scenario. You have a 2010 sedan. It runs fine, but in 2026, you go for an inspection. It fails the new, stricter emissions test. You now have to spend $800 on a new catalytic converter and sensors just to renew your registration. If you can't afford the repair, you can't legally drive the car. This is going to force a lot of older cars off the road. Preparation. EV owners, budget an extra $200 a year for registration. Gas owners, keep your engine maintained. Do not ignore the check engine light. It will cause you to fail inspection and cost you big time. Rule number 5, the war on reckless driving and street racing. Rule number 5 is serious even if you are not a street racer. The crackdown on reckless driving and street racing is getting dramatic in January 2026. States like Florida, Nevada, Georgia, and California are tired of the chaos. They are implementing laws that include immediate vehicle impoundment. If you are caught street racing, your car gets taken on the spot for 30 days. You pay towing, you pay storage, you pay impound fees. That alone is thousands of dollars. The spectator rule. This is the part that catches people off guard. In states like Georgia, if you are just standing on the sidewalk watching a street race, you can be fined and arrested. They are targeting the audience to kill the event. Do not stop to watch. Keep moving. The reckless definition. You don't have to be racing to be reckless. The legal definition is broadening. Weaving through traffic, cutting people off, tailgating aggressively, going 20 miles per hour over the limit. In 2026, these aren't just speeding tickets. They are reckless driving charges. That is a criminal misdemeanor in many states. It means a court appearance. It means a criminal record. It means your insurance drops you. Drive calm. Arrive alive. Don't let road rage turn into a criminal record. Rule number 6, stricter license renewal requirements. Rule number 6 catches the older demographic by surprise, but it impacts families everywhere. Driver license renewal requirements are getting stricter. States like Illinois, California, Florida, and Pennsylvania are implementing mandatory testing for older drivers. Typically starting at age 70 or 75, you can no longer just renew by mail. You must go in. You must pass a vision test. In some cases, you must pass a written test or even a road test. Additionally, medical disclosures are tightening. If you have sleep apnea, diabetes, or heart conditions, the DMV in many states will now require a doctor's certification that you are safe to drive. Why this matters? It adds administrative hurdles. Renewing your license isn't a 10-minute online task anymore. It is a process that requires appointments, doctor visits, and preparation. Advice: do not wait until your license expires. Check your state's requirements 3 to 6 months in advance. If you need a doctor's note, get it early. Rule number 7. Inflation hits the ticket booth. Finally, rule number 7. It sounds minor, but it adds up fast. Parking fines and moving violation fines are increasing across the board. Cities are broke. Inflation has hit their budgets too, so they are raising fines. That $25 parking ticket, it is now $75. That $100 speeding ticket, it is now $250. Rolling a stop sign, $200. Major cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago are leading this, but suburbs are following. They are using fines to plug budget gaps. The danger. A few parking tickets used to be an annoyance. Now, 3 unpaid parking tickets can lead to your car being booted or towed because the total debt is high enough to trigger enforcement actions. Advice: follow the parking signs, read the street sweeping schedules, don't roll through stop signs. The convenience fee of parking illegally just tripled. Conclusion: your action plan. So, we have covered 7 major driving law changes coming in January 2026. This is a lot to digest, but here is the good news: you are now informed. You are ahead of 99% of the drivers on the road who are going to find this out the hard way when they see flashing lights in their rearview mirror. Here is your action plan. Check your state. Go to your DMV website. See what specific laws are passing in your state. Change your habits. Stop holding your phone. Today, by amount, it saves you money and maybe a life. Slow down. The cameras are unforgiving. 6M Rover is the new danger zone. Zero tolerance on alcohol. With the 0.05% limits coming, just don't drive after drinking. It is never worth it. Budget for your car. Whether it is EV fees or emissions repairs, cars are getting more expensive to keep legal. If this video helped you understand what is coming in January 2026 and how to protect yourself, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. Breaking news for every single driver watching this video right now. If you own a vehicle, if you lease a car, or even if you just rent one on the weekends to get groceries, you need to stop what you are doing and listen. If you are planning to get behind the wheel in January 2026, you need to know about 7 major driving law changes that are rolling out across the United States. And when I say major, I am not talking about a 50-cent increase in toll fees. I am not exaggerating when I say these changes could cost you thousands of dollars, maybe even tens of thousands, if you are not prepared. I'm Gabriel, and today we are talking about 7 driving law changes coming in January 2026 that every American driver needs to know about.